I had to be forced to make some decisions because my cutoff game wasn't always sick. So I allowed a lot of clutter in my life. You know what I'm saying? People that I should have been let go years ago. You know what I'm saying? I always offer all this forgiveness. I offer so much forgiveness. I looked over so much, didn't want to rock the boat. I was cool to a fault. You know, I was loyal to a fault. You know, and it came to a point where these people wasn't helping me grow and get to where I need to be. They just became clutter. And how can God bring these fresh, wonderful things in my life if I got too much clutter for him to get through? Yeah. Something epic again. Vintage. Save my heaven if you could just see through my hair. You got that? My days are numbered, read it somewhere in numbers. Oh, she told me it's the thing she not ordered to do that unsure. So free your will, free your grace, free your skill, free your face. Before I die, I wanna know how freedom tastes. Before I die, I wanna know how freedom tastes. Free your will, free your grace, free your skill, free your face. I was honest, swear I was wanted on every corner. I was locked away like a monster too many times. This time, can't even bring myself to write my people. This time, can hardly bring myself to write a sequel. Don't ever take life for granted, this life a cheat. Don't know how many days we got on this planet Ice, so be cool. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Man in the mirror's the shooter, I'm begging to be conducive. An uphill battle, a boat without a paddle, I float. Vampire in Dallas, like sleepers in Seattle. I know all these talents and gifts and you giving up on me. But God keep bringing me back like, bitch, you stuck with me. What's up with me?
Peace and power. Once again, this your big brother Psyche, and today I got a special guest. He done been on here so many times, he ain't even no special guest anymore. But it's the brother Sammy Ace R.
Yo.
He's the head of the. He's the one that heads the podcast King Talk that's on this channel. We got a few different shows that we're putting together for this particular channel. This one, which deals with manhood training, manhood development, things of that nature. That's what this particular show is completely focused on. Brother Psyche and the Uhuru Shule. Then we have Sammy Ace delivering you King Talk, No Screen Talk, which you tell them what your podcast is about.
Well, it's coming from a hip hop perspective and a motivational perspective overall. So I'm really like a spokesman for hip hop, you might say. And I'm sharing my opinion and my experience with the hopes with hip hop. But overall, we want to motivate. You know what I mean? We definitely want to motivate the people.
And we got another show that we're in the process of developing called The Game Room, which is going to be headed by the brother Pharaoh. And his focus is going to be showing you different side hustles, legitimate hustles that you can utilize to make extra money to, build your financial development and things of that nature. So anyway, today's conversation that we're going to talk about today, well, I'm going to tell you what we're going to talk about. Then I'm going to do a proper introduction. Today, we're going to talk about prison. And this conversation, now understand, we're just not going to talk about prison, but we're going to talk about going to prison, how to do that time as best as possible, and how to come home and be productive once you done got home from doing that time. And what inspired this conversation is we were just having a conversation with an advocate for a organization that's based out of Austin and Houston, whose focus is not, I don't want to say prison reform, because the brother told me we're not focused on prison reform, we're focused on prison abolishment. And the brother name was Robert Lilly, that we had the conversation with yesterday. And the brother wants to spread this organization. It's called the umbrella organization is Grassroots Leadership. And the organization that he is working up under at this moment is Texas Advocates for Justice. And their purpose is to not only give brothers a different route once coming home from prison, but trying to stop the feeding of the young brothers and sisters to the prison itself. And as he said yesterday, he believed that some of the best people to do this work is the people that had these experiences. And just so happened, myself and Brother Sammy have both had this experience. So we decided to get on here and talk about that today. We decided to have that conversation. So before we get started, for those who don't know, Brother, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell them who you are. Tell them what you're about. And you said that you're a spokesperson for hip hop. Tell them what makes you qualified to do that.
I'm Sam Hayes, from East Dallas, Texas, me being a spokesman for hip hop, I feel predominantly it has to do with the work I put in concerning hip hop. My life outside of hip hop didn't always reflect my goals in hip hop and what I would like to accomplish. But those are also experiences to draw from in the future and to help other brothers that might have went through the same thing, that might be going through the same thing. So yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get on into it. We're gonna center the show around a particular group of questions. We're gonna present the questions, and then me and the brother is gonna give our own ideas of how we answer the questions based on our own personal experience. So the first question I'm gonna ask is, what are the elements that lead a person to prison? Meaning like the environment, the people you're around, the things that you're doing, things of that nature. And since the brother's the guest, then I'm gonna put the burden of going first on him. What are the elements, in your opinion, that leads a person to prison?
The number one thing that comes to mind is instant gratification.
Speaking to the mic, brother.
The number one thing that comes to mind is instant gratification. The shortcut. Because most brothers that are in the streets are looking for a faster way to make money without necessarily putting in a 8-12 hour shift, you know what I mean? When I could go and make that paycheck, in a couple of hours or in a day or two or whatnot. So, and that instant gratification, that instant gratification can cause us to sacrifice morals and values, attitudes, and beliefs that some decent people in our life probably that instilled that in us on our way up. But we were blinded by the light. We were blinded by the peer pressure. And that was a way of survival. That was a means of survival. Today I can't tell somebody that it's healthy for them to dedicate their life to the hustle. Dedicate whatever your hustle might be. You know what I'm saying? But if it's illegal in the law of the land, I can't tell you that that's a healthy thing to do. Even though sometimes I got by, a lot of times I got by with that. But no matter how many times I got by, the end result is always jails, institutions of death. I thank God that I'm still here, because I took chances, as a lot of us do with our life, on our way to prison. And prison to me is a step above death. So that's definitely a last straw type of thing. So yeah, I think that instant gratification, that the fast life that the fast life offers is just another way of saying that. But that's what the fast life offers. Right here, I want it right now, right here, right now. I don't want to wait for it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm willing to make the necessary decisions to go and get it, even though I might be sacrificing my freedom at the same time. So.
The brother, I can't disagree with anything the brother just said, because I think he's on point. A lot of brothers are motivated by instant gratification, which leads me to a thought. I remember one time I was teaching Talim in prison, and for those who don't know what Talim is, just think of a study group in prison. That's basically what it was. It was a you get a classroom where you're allowed to teach particular things in that particular classroom. And one time I was teaching, at Tylene, and one of the things I was talking about hustling backwards, and one of the point that I made, I asked every brother there, and it basically proves that what the brother said is that instant gratification is the thing that motivates a lot of people to go to prison. Because I asked brothers, I pointed out, what got you in prison? Robbery, selling dope. They boom, boom, boom. They went through the long line of different things. So I asked the brother, what was you hustling for? And everybody basically resoundingly said money. Everybody said money, that they was hustling for money. And my whole point of doing that is I wanted to show everybody that you really wasn't hustling for money. Everybody disagreed. Like, I know what I was hustling for. I was hustling for money. And I asked the brothers, I say, so when you got the money, what did you do with the money? People went and bought cars, they went and bought jewelry, they paid bills, they bought a house, they took care of their family, things of that nature. So I say, so you took the money, you traded it for things. If you was really hustling for money, then you would have been like Scrooge McDuck and put all the money in a money bin and swim through it. You'll put it all in a bathtub and sit in it. There is no way if you was hustling for the money, you would go and take the money and give it away for something else. No, so you couldn't have been hustling for money. You were hustling for the things that the money gave you. So the brothers were like, okay, yeah, I never looked at it like that. Okay, I was hustling for the things, okay? I was hustling to get those things. Everybody agreed. And when they finally agreed, I said, you wasn't even hustling for the things. And they say, hell no, I know what I was hustling. First of all, you tell us we ain't hustling for money. We agree that what you said, we hustling for the things. And soon as we come to the agreement, then you say we not hustling for the thing. We wasn't hustling for the thing. What were we hustling for then? Brother Psyche, that's what they said. And I said, okay. I said, let's play this scenario. Your 3-year-old son walk up to you and say, Daddy, I'm hungry. And you go in your pocket and pull them out, and they look like bunny ears. You ain't got no food to feed them. You don't have no money, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to change that situation. How does that make you feel?
Like a loser.
Like a loser. Make you feel like a bum, like you ain't shit.
Yeah.
Okay, same scenario. 3-year-old son walk up to you and say, Dad, I'm home. You say, go a nice box and choose whatever you want. We're going to hook it up. Matter of fact, go get dressed and we'll go somewhere after eat. You got a pocket full of money. You got a few bands in the bank. You pretty much got everything you need. How does that make you feel?
That strokes my ego.
You know what I'm saying? Makes you feel good. Makes you feel like you the man.
Yeah.
And you know that your son is looking at you with a high level of respect. So what I said is that we're hustling for that feeling. No man wants to feel like, as you said, the loser. Every man wants to feel like he the man. So you hustling for the feeling. And I said that feeling has a name. The name of that feeling is freedom. You hustling to be free. You want to be free. You want to have power over your own situation. That's what you hustling for. And that's why I said that a lot of people are hustling backwards. Because you're risking freedom for money, which is hustling backwards. Because the only reason you get money is a tool, like a hammer or a nail used to build a house. Yeah. You wanted to say something on that?
Yeah, because
remember, you're a rapper, so remember the mic.
Okay. I do this without the mic too, though. Don't get it twisted. But yeah, you're right. Money is a tool because money offers options. And in a competitive world, because whether we want to admit it or not, it's always competitive especially amongst men. Women do it, we do it, we do it big. You know what I'm saying? So it's always a hidden competition. When your options is low and you don't have those options, it could possibly create self-esteem issues. You know what I mean? Depression, or anxiety. We're all prone to that. And I feel like when you don't have that, you can't help but feel less than, because the world tells us as a man that we supposed to have, this and that together to even be considered as a man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if the world's speaking volumes on that, imagine what the young ladies' mothers was telling them when they was giving them advice on man. And I can't help but notice that security is one of the used things that women look for. It's been times I've seen a beautiful, gorgeous woman with an ugly dude, and I'm like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? But what is this dude offering? You know what I'm saying? versus the good-looking guy. You know, he handsome, ladies, man, all of that. But he don't have these essentials to speak for. You know what I mean? That dude, the door opener, that dude that's bringing chivalry back. You know, and the dude that got his shit together. You know, his life, his finances, he headed in a great place. You know, they're more open to that because at the end of the day, you know, they might like you because you cute in the beginning and all of that, but at the end of the day, they were taught to embrace security. You know what I'm saying?
Deeper than that, and I don't want to go there yet because I was going to answer the question because I was building on you answering the question about instant gratification. Now, my answer to that, which I don't disagree with what you said, but my answer, I'm gonna go a little bit more psychological with it. Basically, Malcolm said this before. He said, I can't remember the exact quote, but I'm gonna paraphrase it. And essentially, what Malcolm said was that he said that you had to be in prison before you went to prison. He said, cause what's happened physically is only a manifestation of what's going on inside your mind. So you was already in prison in your mind before you ever went to prison. So so my answer to that question, what sends a person to prison, is that they're already in prison in their mind. And a lot of times, if you grow up in the gutters and the slums and the ghettos, you don't know it, but you're incarcerated in your mind. Yeah. There's a limitation to your ability. I remember when I was incarcerated, I met a young brother named Lucky. I had much love for this brother, liked the brother. He was from Butler Housing Projects in Fort Worth. The brother had never left his neighborhood. Never in his life left his neighborhood. He didn't know what Stop 6 looked like. He didn't know what the South Side looked like. He had never been to Dallas. You know what I'm saying? He had never been to Dallas. He had never seen none of the hoods. You know, and he had never left his hood. And that's the limitation. That's that mindset that I'm talking about being in prison in your mind. Or a lot of the brothers that I met who never knew how intelligent they truly were. They was locked in their mind because they, for the most of their life, thought they were stupid. Until they was introduced to some new knowledge that lit them on fire, that made them want to start studying and start eating, and then they start actually being introduced to their own intellect. So that's a prison of the mind as well. So I'm saying that those are the things that lead a person to prison. Now, to go back to what you were just saying about what women like in men to a certain degree, see, they was taught it, but it's also ingrained it's certain things that's ingrained in a woman. Just like it's certain things that's ingrained in a man. It's certain things that a woman looks for in a man. A woman knows that on a physical level, and this is not to down women. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying when I say a woman has, on average, a woman has less strength than a man. On average, the average woman cannot run faster than the average man that's around her same age. Is not stronger than them. Ain't feel to beat them in the arm wrestling. So women know to look to their men for that security, for that defense, for that protection. You know what I'm saying? Women, and so a woman wants to be able to see a man or believe that she's with a man who has the ability to do that. No woman really, I ain't gonna say no, because I can hear y'all, the all police, I can hear y'all now saying, well, I know a woman that don't, yeah, just like I know a dude that don't have two legs, but on average, the average person has two legs. You know what I'm saying? Okay. On average, the average person has two arms. So I'm just talking about averages here.
So don't get too technical.
Yeah, so don't get too technical. But the average woman wants to be walking down the street with a man that she feels like if somebody jumps out to attack them, that he has the ability to defend them, that he has the ability to protect her. Just like the average woman wants to know that she's with a man that has the ability to feed her, that has the ability to bring something to the table as well. So that's just some of what we are. But I'm gonna move to the next question unless you wanna add on. All right. What is life like in prison? You know, for us as a men, we like to forget it. But there are those who've never been there. There are those who have men, husbands, baby daddies, brothers, sons there that would like to know what is life like. And I ain't saying, you know, they might take all day to describe everything in prison, but keep it 100. What is life like in prison?
You know, I've heard people say, you know, they went to prison, you know, and to even measure time. And to me, man, any day missed from what's supposed to be your freedom, you know, that's really something, man. That's really something. What is it like? It's like a step before hell. Now, we're survivors, you know what I'm saying? And in prison, I saw a lot of order, you know, order that I don't see out here, you know, and it is such thing as rehabilitation. But this is gonna have to be that's a selfish program. That's a self thing, you know. Yeah, they'll have these classes here and there, but that's never enough. You know what I'm saying? You can, like this brother sitting here with me. I went to prison to meet the smartest black man in the world, right? You know, I'm in prison and I'm in awe, and I was brought up on a lot of attitudes and beliefs that was fictitious. When I bumped into him, it's not like, you know, I wasn't motivated to change or I wasn't on a brand of knowledge, but what he introduced was something deeper than, you know, I knew. And he had his homework done, you know, and it's hard to accept some things when you've been operating on a certain level all these years, you know. So it's pros and cons to it. It's what you make it. You see what I'm saying? Because you could go. My first time down was less disciplined than the second time I went. The second time I went, I operated more like my dude. You know what I'm saying? Part of me would have loved him to see it, you know, because he was very disciplined. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that knew him or got close to him know what he was, no nonsense, what he was about, building knowledge, you know what I'm saying, seeking, and change, you know, change. You knew that. So you wouldn't come around dudes like this with certain type of shit. But when it comes to what you witnessed and what you've seen, man, I done seen some crazy things in there. You know, but some guys are raised in there. Some guys are taught respect in there. You know what I'm saying? I had a certain level of respect because of the way I was raised when I came in. So it's certain ways I never came at a man. You know what I'm saying? Because I was called, I think I've called a female out her name once in my life. So that basic respect, I had that. You know what I'm saying? And it's the type of place that you get what you put out. If you don't offer that respect to other people, then imagine what's gonna come to you. I'd rather respect someone at the highest level. Then when you come to me disrespectful, I'll feel justified in doing what I got to do. You see what I'm saying? But it's a place of order. It's segregation. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I went back to the Jim Crow days when I walked through the door. It's segregation. You know, certain races got certain tables, and that shit serious. You know what I'm saying? You can't go sit we can't go sit at their table and eat a spread. You know what I'm saying? Without being addressed. You know, but I like the order. You know, the second time I came home and saw what was going, and I know there's nothing constant but change because I done left and came back many times and witnessed change. But this change that I witnessed coming out this time was more dramatic than I ever seen. And I reflected on prisons and some of the principles that they operated on in there. And I had to say, right now today, I appreciate some of them principles. You know, it was a learning experience. The way dudes operating out here today blows my mind. And now, if you got an issue with a man, you have to address that. You can't tell your homeboy, this man says you got a real issue with him and you join to a gang or a clique, they're gonna make you address it. If you don't address that man, then they gonna address you. You know, but they gonna line it up on you. They might send 2 or 3 in the cell on you to discipline you know, for making them look bad. You know, men had to address their shit. I couldn't send no dudes to address my shit. I had to pull up and address it myself. I respect that more. A man telling me face to face, hey, I got a problem with you, than try to run a play on. That's the way of the world now. You know what I'm saying? So on that certain level, I can respect. It teaches some men respect. Some little boys go down there and come back home with a different level of respect because of what they seen and how they had to operate amongst other men in order to maintain that, in order to maintain some kind of order, because it's a lot of animals in this atmosphere. So if there's no order, fuck what the guard's doing. If there's no order amongst us, it's gonna be all out war. True, you know, and the atmosphere could change anytime. You always have to be on your P's and Q's, man. You know, it's a different world. It really is. It's a different world.
It's actually like and we said it all the time, because we used to always talk about the free world as if it's separate from prison. As if this world.
Heard you say that, I heard.
Yeah.
Like,
what are you talking about?
We did talk that. Like,
yeah.
That's prison slang.
Yeah, and prison is a microcosm. Is a small world within the world that's completely separated from the world. And as he just said, there are different structures. There are prison is segregated, in prison for the most part, the law of the land is created by the gangs. The law of the land is created by those who have group power. That's what the law of the land is created by. For the most part in Texas, and I can only speak about Texas. I know that different states may be different, but in Texas, you're gonna go to prison, you're gonna work every day unless something's wrong with you, unless you got some kind of medical condition, and you're gonna work for free. And if you refuse to work, they're gonna punish you for not working.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna extort your labor out of you. So if you went to prison without a work ethic, you're gonna pick one up while you're there.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna work for 0 cents an hour.
Oh, how they tell us they pay. I heard some people get paid in other states. How they pay.
Oh yeah.
Texas is finesse. They say they pay us in good time.
In good time, meaning that time is supposed to take time off of your sentence. Only problem is Texas is a discretionary parole state, meaning that they have the discretion to allow it to apply or not. And 99.9% of the time, it doesn't apply. They give you a timesheet once a month. You see your good time. You know, I was in there and I had, according to good time, work time, and actual time done, I had 180% of my time done. You know what I'm saying? But that's, yeah, he's right about that. But I don't even have to go on what you're going to see in prison. Oh, let me say this, because you pretty much touched everything. A lot of people that's never been to prison watch prison movies, and they have this idea that everybody's working out, everybody's down there reading, everybody's down there conscious, and that's not true. For the most part, your family member is down there gambling, watching TV. They love the stories. They love sports. Those are the two key things: sports and the stories.
I gotta tell the story.
They'll beat you up behind the stories.
I gotta tell the story because he witnessed this one day.
Go ahead.
I was going to GED class, right? I used to always be late to class because I wanted to catch all of Young and the Restless. And actually one day, a guy, he was just messing around, but I don't know if y'all in the know about the character Sharon Case. Now she goes by Sharon on the show. Her real name is Sharon Case. It's the introduction of the show, and I think he called her about 12 bitches. Man, I got in my feelings about that. That was my favorite cat, and he was right there. I was like, say, fam, we ain't gonna be doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's how serious it was. You know, people were serious about small shit down there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They serious about some shit that could be considered. I didn't miss that. It was considered disrespect if the TV, excuse me, Mike, if the TV wasn't on Young and the Restless.
Yeah, they serious about that bullshit. Now, you know my thinking on that. I thought that was the craziest thing in the world. That all these men, because in my life, only people I ever saw watching the stories was women with no jobs on welfare.
Grandmamas and stuff.
Yeah, or grandmamas and stuff like that. So I did not understand that. Then there's a whole TV that's dedicated completely to sports. Dudes are ready to kill you if that TV get out. It's mandatory. It's the sports TV.
You think you've been to Vegas till you've been to prison.
Yeah, it's the sports TV.
It's baby Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
So down there, people you have every option. He talked earlier about rehabilitation, but nobody forces rehabilitation. You have the option to rehabilitate self. But no one's gonna do it. So if you go down there and just sitting down there waiting on somebody to rehabilitate you, you're gonna get the same person that went in. I don't care if it's 5, 10, 15 years later, that same person is coming back home. And prison is violent. Prison is violent. And let me correct some false ideas here. Everybody in prison isn't gay. Everybody isn't sleeping with homosexuals in prison. That's not even a majority of the people there. A lot of the gangs will beat you half to death if they find out you're dealing with homosexuality. So if you go down there, you Crip, you Blood, or whatever gang you claim, your gang is gonna have rules against homosexuality. So that is not real. They think everybody that did time to mess with a punk. That's not real. Another thing is you're not fighting every day. If you a dude that will fight, stand up for yourself, and you're not involved in a lot of the nonsense, 9 times out of 10, if you're involved in the cigarette trade, you're gambling every day, you're messing with homosexuals, things like that, and you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder and you think you're the toughest dude in prison, you're going to do a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
But if you go down there and you will fight, you're not going to tolerate no nonsense, but you ultimately respectful and you stay out of people's way. You're not gambling. You're not dealing with anything that's going to draw unnecessary problems to you. You're not going to have a whole bunch of fights. It's just not going to happen if you're the right type of person. So it's all about how you conduct yourself. And prison is an extremely political place. Once you learn how to move in a political arena, you know how to move in prison.
Politics as usual.
Politics as usual. And prison, he talked about Jim Crow, they taking you back a little bit further than that. They taking you all the way back to the Dark Ages. Because a lot of books are banned. There's a lot of books they don't want you to read.
They banned the knowledge.
They banned the knowledge.
They banned the building.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And all these books are not necessarily bad books, but it's stuff that people don't want you to know. There's brothers down there digging. You know what I'm saying? Digging for jewels. You know, books that you're not going to get in the elementary school or middle school or even high school. Things that I think it's always room for self-education because it's always going to be knowledge that somebody's trying to hold out. Try to stall you out on. You got to go look for that yourself. So I think that's important outside of our education system that we offered here in the U.S. I think and Malcolm was a wonderful example of that. If there's any brothers, sisters out there that haven't read Malcolm's story, you gotta read that. It's very inspirational. A man comes from prison, learns the dictionary in prison, and comes from prison, and is called to speak at Harvard. You know what I'm saying?
And that's gonna lead to the next question. Matter of fact, you segued into that like I planned it actually, as if it was planned and it wasn't. But Malcolm, one of my favorite men in history. Malcolm went to prison with an 8th grade education. He 8th grade was the last grade he completed. No GED, didn't graduate high school, went to prison, basically reading on a low level. But when Malcolm went to prison, he built himself. He started studying. The first thing he realized he had to do, because he didn't understand the spelling, he didn't understand the meaning of words, so he copied down the entire dictionary to improve his vocabulary. And with the improvement of his vocabulary, his understanding was improved. And he became the dude that we know, or that the world know of, as Malcolm X. He was speaking at the Harvard campus. And he talked about, man, it was a time when I used to be hiding behind one of these buildings waiting on somebody like you to walk out so I can hit you upside your head and rob you. He spoke before the UN, the United Nations. He spoke before the OAU, the Organization of African Unity in Africa. World leaders sat with this man. With his 8th grade education and this homemade education that he gave himself while he was in prison, which leads to the next question. What should a person be doing in prison if they want to come home and be productive for themselves and their family? What should they do and how should they spend their time?
It's funny you said that, because I asked myself that question through my notes. And then one of my responses was, and this is not necessarily my answer, but can you really prepare for the unknown? And I followed up and said you can and you should. Still remains the element of surprise. Tony Evans calls it the detour. I kind of like that. There'll be days that we have to press the reset button, just as there'll be days that we have to press the reroute button on our GPS. Still, that doesn't mean that you won't meet your goals. It just means that you won't get around to your goals the textbook way that you might have had written on paper, because still remains the element of surprise, man. And things are not always what we want it to be when we come out into society. And you're gonna be tested. You're gonna be battle tested. Period. Anything that you've changed or you vowed not to do anymore, you will be tested by those things. Life is but a test and a trust. It's written, it's not my words. Life is but a test and a trust. So the test comes to see exactly where you at. You know what I'm saying? We should actually look forward to the test, because without us we're not intermingling with the free world. So we're not really tested yet. When we intermingle with the free world, we get to know exactly where we at. You know what I'm saying? And that could be educational to us. But it's gonna have to be some grit to you. It's gonna have to be like, the no give up no give in attitude. The resilient attitude, because from my experiences and from this man's experiences that's sitting next to me, we experienced things that mentally could have took us out the game. We both had our different experience. Mentally, if we allowed it, to do so, it would have took us out the game. If we didn't have no regroup in us, no rededication in us, it could have took us out the game. Because we've been tested and we continue to be tested. As long as we're trying to strive forward, it'll be tested. And those tests in a lot of ways are accountability knocking at your door. To tell you exactly who you are and exactly where you at. You can use that to get to the next step. You know what I'm saying?
Now, I think one of the things I think that a person needs to do while they're in prison, and this comes from my personal experience. When I went to prison, I'll 100% admit that I went astray. I made a mistake. I'm not saying I went astray in prison. I went astray, which was led me to prison, because I was surrounded by positive and productive people. I was surrounded by Panthers, and I was being mentored by Panthers, and I was studying and started the process of building. And I allowed a situation that in the habit of dealing with all my problems with violence, I allowed a situation to make me respond in a way that wasn't conducive to my own development. So it sent me to prison. It sent me to prison for almost 2 decades. And when I got there, I had to evaluate self. First thing I had to do was I had to evaluate myself and be real with self and see what my strengths and my weaknesses were. I ran a SWOT evaluation on myself. In business, they call it a SWOT, SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You have to look at yourself and ask yourself, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What opportunities are presented to me? And what threats are here that could hinder my growth? So I had to do a SWOT evaluation on self. And one of the things I sat around and did, one of my weaknesses was I really didn't have a definition of manhood to operate my life off of, because my father was never in my life. He didn't teach me anything. I never had the real role models for manhood around me. So what I did is I went into history to find role models for manhood. I went into history, Shaka Zulu, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey. I went into even Jesus, Yeshua ben Yosef. I went and found these dudes. I wanted to know how they think, how they talk, what did they do, how did they operate. And I took these models, because that's what a role model is. The role I want to play is manhood. The model was Jesus, Malcolm X. You know what I'm saying? Martin Luther King. These was the models for that manhood. So they was role models. So I took that and I developed a concept of manhood, called a class Uhuru Shule, but I'm not going to get into all that, but just talking about what I think a man should be doing in prison if you want to come home and be productive. So the first thing I think you need to do, I believe in physical training. I believe in physical training, working out every single day, not just so you can have big muscles, but to be physically fit, for the discipline that it takes to be on top of that, and for the help that it's going to give you. And we just said prison is a violent place, so you need to be able to defend yourself, not just because it's not good to be beat up, but knowing you have the ability to defend yourself raises your self-confidence. So a man should be training, a man should be studying. We tend to falsely believe that as long as I'm alive and as I get older, I'm just going to mature. Maturity doesn't come like that. You might get older and bigger and taller, but maturity comes with your mental understanding. And the only way that can happen is through reading, studying, learning new lessons, sitting with teachers, sitting with mentors, or listening to speeches by wise and intelligent people, being willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, you're not going to mature. The word mature literally means to make ready. That's what the word literally means. And that doesn't happen just because you stay alive long enough. It doesn't happen. I've seen 50-year-old men that was stupid as hell down there in the penitentiary because no maturity was going on. So you have to study. And one thing you got to understand about the brain, like the stomach, needs to eat. The only difference between the brain is if you're not feeding it, it's going to feed itself. And it's just going to feed itself off the stuff around it. That's why some of you dudes got songs in your heads that you don't like, but you can't get rid of. You got sayings in your head that you don't necessarily agree with, but you can't get rid of because you haven't been feeding your brain anything else. Another thing that I think is very important is for you to take advantage of many of the instructional courses that they have in prison. They have classes, trades, everything from welding to CDLs, truck driving to HVAC. They got plumbing. I always used to say that a man should learn 2 trades on the state. The state has 2 trades down there. You should get your GED. You should get you some trades under your belt. And if you got to be down there, you might as well take the reimbursement and get you some college. Not because I ascribe to the ideal of get a good education and get a good job. I don't ascribe to that ideal. A good education is not necessarily going to give you a good job. But once you're learning more and more, again, it starts building your confidence and it helps you to mature. Another thing that I think, and I don't want to get into long details because I got videos on this channel breaking this stuff down, you need to write a success plan. Subscribe to the channel. But you need to write a success plan. A success plan is step by step what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. You got to write your goals, the things that you want to accomplish. Then you got to write the steps to how you're going to get that done. I had a success plan in play. When I was going to get my vehicle, when I was going to get my own place to stay, all of those things, where I was going to live when I walked out of prison, my first job and my success plan, it literally says this: it doesn't matter where I work because the first job is a starter job. It doesn't matter how much money I'm making. It's not my career. It's just a starter job. My first job that I got when I got home paid me $9.50 an hour. I didn't care because $9.50 an hour was way more than that 0 cent an hour that I've been paid for 17 consecutive years.
A good time that didn't check out.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I believe that a man's supposed to be doing. Did you want to speak on that before we go to the next question?
I do.
Go ahead.
I do. Yeah, goals are very important. And what I heard when I heard you speaking is the how. It's the how of it. A man should be operating, if he's truly trying to rehabilitate himself, operate on honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. If you don't have those 3 things, you can't move forward. You know what I'm saying? You still in your own way. Like I mentioned, the second time around, because I went down a couple of times, unfortunately, I'm not bragging, but I was more disciplined. The first time I was reading self-help books, I was doing devotions and that, and my brother was shooting me knowledge. I ain't gonna say I didn't gain nothing out of it, you know what I'm saying? But I was less disciplined. I gave time and energy to things that didn't necessarily give back, just past the time. You see what I'm saying? There's some dudes out there just trying to creatively get through the day. You know, it's not necessarily they chasing knowledge, you know what I'm saying? They just trying to think of a creative way to stay sane and get through the day. So people invest times into things that don't give back. The second time around, I was more disciplined. Way more disciplined. You know, I was involved in less. The gambling stopped. I didn't gamble. I was, and I felt I made a lot of progress. You know what I'm saying? That still didn't ensure that I would come home, you know what I'm saying, to the vision I had in my head. Because we all have, when you're making your goals, you have to have a vision of where you want to go and where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? But it's not always, things don't always go in your favor. Then what? You know what I'm saying? You got to know how to, and I said it before, it's just like, hey, it's traffic. That's a great example. Tony Evans give it in his book. I'm headed to work. It's traffic. You know what I'm saying? They reroute me. Now, I might not get to work the textbook way I'm used to getting to work, 6:35 East. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still gonna make it, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm still gonna make it. A lot of people, and that's the challenge of it, because people get discouraged. We're human. I've gotten discouraged. You know what I'm saying? And been in a place of stagnation. You know what I'm saying? When I should have been moving. You see what I'm saying? But I didn't give up hope, and I didn't go back to, the things that I know got me in prison. So that gave me a fighting chance right there. But at times we could get in that place of stagnation to where no progress is happening. Because actions do count. And even if you feel like progress is happening, because this is you and God operating, and maybe it's some things that He want to show you, and maybe the things that He enlightened you about while you was in that cell, He's giving you a vivid picture of, because He knows you like nobody else. I had to be forced to make some decisions, because my cutoff game wasn't always 6, so I allowed a lot of clutter in my life. You know what I'm saying? People that I should have been let go years ago. You know what I'm saying? I always offer all this forgiveness. I offer so much forgiveness. I looked over so much, didn't want to rock the boat. I was cool to a fault. I was loyal to a fault. And it came to a point where these people wasn't helping me grow and get to where I need to be. They just became clutter. And how can God bring these fresh, wonderful things in my life if I got too much clutter for Him to get through? And I had that problem. I promise. I was in the cell, man, morning devotion, and I had a moment. And He told us, like He whispered in my ear and told me, you always had a problem with letting go. And I had a warp. I sit back in the cell, man, all my relationships. I never left nobody. Whether I was right or wrong, I never left nobody. They had to leave me. I look back and I was like, damn, that's real. You know what I'm saying? And all the people that call themselves friends, I was more loyal to them than they ever was to me. You know what I'm saying? And I was going to keep them around, even though they didn't deserve to be. If they were still around when the big times come, they didn't even have to do shit. I would have took care of them and their family. That's the type for life. That's the type of motherfucker I am. But everybody don't deserve to make the trip. You see what I'm saying? So God wanted to show me that. You know what I'm saying? Because by doing that, I could put myself in a position of where the people that were supposed to be my counsel, my wise counsel, you know what I'm saying? If they're not what they're supposed to be, they can ruin all that I've fought to achieve. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to have the right people around you. So yeah, I think that was a stepping stone, for me. And he vividly, because he had to vividly show me who people were. And I had to make these decisions. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of things happened, man, that I was devastated. When I came home, man, after the first week, I was like, because it wasn't that I had all these goals, and it happened nothing like, I can see it happen.
He keep jumping. I don't know if he know what questions I'm gonna put out there or not, because I didn't brief him. But he keeps jumping to the very next questions, because we going in. If you pay attention, we going in a trail of order. What leads you to prison? what you're actually gonna see while you're in prison, and what you can be doing while you're in prison to try to guarantee that you're gonna be a better person when you step out of prison. Then he just went to that, which is the next question: what will you see when you walk out of prison? Now, for me, I expected certain things, and they was unrealistic expectations. When I was released from prison, I had to go through, because I had been gone so long. When they gave me parole, they mandated that I go to a program. What was the name of this program? What was it called? I can't remember the exact name, but essentially the program was supposed to, in 6 months, prepare my mind, wash that 17 years of prison away, and prepare me for being a productive adult. I mean, yeah.
They was trying to, how do you say that? Break the
behavior modification. That's the type of program I went to. And what they teach you, a lot of the classes I went to, some of the classes were good, I can admit it. A lot of the classes I went to, they're supposed to teach you how to fill out an application, what to do in an interview at a job, things like this. They even told me this. They say that when you walk out of prison, you're going to go through the honeymoon phase. Your people going to be happy to see you. They going to love that you're home. They say that honeymoon phase may last 2 weeks.
Before they ask you for bill money.
You know what I'm saying? Before they own you. Here it is. You just got out of prison. And you are the help. They are already making you the help. And they told me, this is what they told me. They say, realistically, you should be able to go home. And, you should be able to go home. Because these people been doing good or doing whatever they've been doing without you. For all this time that you've been gone. And you the one walking out of this situation where you actually handicapped. So you supposed to be able to come home, get you a job, adjust to being free, and then start stacking your cash. Yes, realistically, you got to help. You got to participate. You got to put in where you're living at. You have to. Yeah. But when you fresh walk out of prison, you should have a few months to kind of get yourself together.
You should.
You should. No, that ain't what you. People. I'm gonna tell you what. I ain't gonna say for everybody, but. What happened for me? Somebody was in my pocket instantly. I wasn't home a month before I had to help catch up the bills, the electric bill, the water bill, the mortgage. Just like, golly, what had been done while I was gone? And that was coming home. What people don't understand, that has never been to prison, you got it on your mind that you want to come home. And legally, if you come home in the way that I came home, I'm not going to do anything illegal. I'm not going to send myself to prison. I want to rebuild my life and get myself together. But when you're coming home today, you got somebody saying, and you got to save me. And it's like, damn.
That's a lot on your shoulders.
That's a lot on your shoulders, and that's stressful. So that'll come. I got another brother. I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he want all his business out. But I got another brother. He came home after doing 24 years, calendar years. And he went and stayed with his sister. And friends came over and gave him money. And first his sister told him, don't worry about it. No, you just got home. You've been gone. This man is in his 40s. He's been gone since he was 17 years old. You've been gone. And you got to rebuild your life. So, do what you need to do and start getting yourself together. But when his friends came over to visit him after he got home, all of them dropping off money. She see the money and instantly she on him. When you gonna give me something? When you go, it's like, golly, I ain't had no money in 24 years.
It's like people aren't, even though they can say it by word of mouth, it's like people aren't sympathetic to what you went through.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That only lasts, like you said, for a week or two. And that's the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Before shit get real.
Yeah. And then you'll have, like in my particular situation, not only did I have that, but then I had a person who was in the house that I was living in that was my number one hater. This man was doing everything. This was my family. Again, I don't want to say too much because I don't want to put people but this was my family. Close family. And this person I'm talking about, this man was doing everything in his power to try to flip that switch in my brain that I had turned while I was incarcerated. He was doing every single thing that the old me would have busted him upside his head a long time ago.
As if he wanted to owe you.
As if he wanted
to bring that out.
As if he was trying to bring that out.
Prove
you know what I'm
that
saying?
you still the same person.
Or he knew that I wasn't the same person that said this. Oh yeah, I can run over him. Because one thing that Malcolm said in the autobiography is that when you moving in the streets, you got to understand that you moving around ferrets and foxes. And if at any time they see any weakness, they're gonna take you. American Me. Remember when he gave the pass to Little Puppet?
Yeah.
The boss gave the pass to Little Puppet?
Yeah.
They saw that as weakness. And what did they do? They walked up on that boy and knifed him up and threw him over the rail. You know, he showed weakness. You can't show weakness. He had to he was supposed to get a call to assassinate Little Puppet. Little Puppet died anyway. But by him not giving the call, they thought that was weakness. And some people think like that. They see the fact that you ready to make this positive change and that you developed a heart, they see it as weakness. And I think this family member saw the way that I was moving as a weakness.
Can't show no weakness with these bitches. Get your life jacked.
Exactly.
From a hip hop perspective.
Exactly. And so that's one of the things that I ran into. So you got to understand this. If you're in prison and you're working on bettering yourself, you got to understand because you're working on yourself don't mean everybody else is. Just because you have these, and that's one of the things I brought up the class, the behavior modification program I had to go to. One of the things that they told me, and it's basically Buddhism. One of the things that they told me was that pain and suffering comes from unrealistic expectations. You expect something, and you don't get what you expect, and it causes pain.
You don't have that. If you had that acceptance and you expected it, it would be nothing.
It would be nothing.
So high expectations make for low acceptance.
And one of the things that they said what's unrealistic is when you start expecting the behavior of another person. You cannot control the behavior of somebody else. Only behavior you can control is yourself.
Your reaction.
So when you thought you were going to come home to a brother that loved you, to a mother that wanted to see you doing good, and you don't get that, then it makes you sad. It makes you depressed. It could even lead you into certain levels of depression. Because you're like, man, these are the closest people in the world to me. How can these people want to see me fall? These people are constantly in my pocket. These people are constantly the ones that's pushing me back. I can't get ahead.
Let me say something because you was telling me we was having a one-on-one the other day, and you was saying how somebody said to you that really they wouldn't say I don't, because one of them people or one of the family members you're talking about, but they mentioned counseling. But the way they came at it is if they was trying to, it wasn't from no healthy standpoint or from current concern. You see what I'm saying? But even though it wasn't, you sat back and thought for a second, you said, hey, I might need counseling. I thought that was a beautiful thing, because humility comes before honor. You know what I'm saying? We can't never be too big, you know what I'm saying, for to humble ourselves for something that we might need, because that's something dramatic that you still carry with you. Although you've used that pain to help you go forward, that's still an issue. You see what I'm saying? You're hurt. You know what I'm talking about? And it can affect how you respond to the people that is a part of your life still right now. I need it. I need therapy. And I want to speak out on that too, because from my self-education, I learned that blacks are the least likely to use therapy or counseling, in the world. And then I look at the state of our people and I say, it shows. You know what I'm saying? We think we got it together. We think we know everything. You know what I'm saying? But when we come at it from a point from a perspective that we know nothing, we learn the most.
True indeed.
I have a story that
that might be the wisest thing you have said in your life. Boy, where you get that from?
Man, it's a story. It's a story that I read.
When you come at it from the perspective that, say it again. What did you just say? This is a major key. We need this. We need to repeat this.
When you come at it from a perspective that you know nothing, you learn the most.
True indeed.
You know what I'm saying? You don't rest on your laurels. Rest on what you already know. And to back that up, a story that I read in a book. I forgot what book it was, but I never forget this. It was a wife, a doctor. They went to they had a double date. They went and sat down, and these type of things happen on double dates, or when it's multiple couples or whatever. The other couple, they were discussing the man from the other couple was discussing his career. And the wife of the doctor wanted the doctor to brag. It turned deeply because he never said anything. He was very quiet. You know, he never boasted on his achievements or anything, or that he was even a doctor. And it tore her up inside. She couldn't wait till after they left the date. Dad, why you didn't say nothing? Why you? She was almost ready to argue. And he looked at her and said, "Cause I already know what I know. I was trying to see what everybody else." Huh?
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that without listening.
Yeah.
If I would have played the boast game, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
then I couldn't have took what I could use from other people. You know what I'm saying? He had the most wise approach at that double date. You know what I'm saying? At the dinner. And I thought that was beautiful because it was speaking about humility, you know, and biblically it says that humility comes before honor. I never forgot that, you know what I'm saying, because when the ego and a lot of times that enables people to learn, right, from others, the ego.
And one thing the brother just said, you know, just to add to that real quick, one of the things we have to understand is that in order to grow, in order to develop, there must be a level of humility. What people fail to understand, people got a false understanding of what power is. People think more power comes in who doing the most talking. But you doing the most talking and you put yourself in the position to be doing the most teaching or giving out the most information. The person that's doing the least talking and the most listening is in the position not only to know what they already know, but to know what you and everybody else is doing the most talking know.
I got a personal question for you. This is the flip side. Seeing that you've acquired so much knowledge, does it make it more challenging to listen?
No.
To people that might not have the knowledge that you have?
You know what I've learned?
Is it a challenge in that?
You know what I've learned? I'm gonna tell you something that I've learned, and this is the honest truth. This ain't trying to sound humble or none of that.
No.
There was a time when I started learning. When I first started learning, I learned a little bit and thought I knew it all, because I had never knew this before.
Yeah.
So I learned a little bit. I gained some new knowledge and thought I knew it all.
Overjoyed.
Yeah. And so then I learned there was some more stuff out there.
Okay.
So when I started learning that, and the more I learned, that you will never in life have it all. And then when it even comes to the things that I already know, like people, I tell people this all the time. Well, I already know that. I tell them, and this might sound arrogant, but I'm going to be real. I tell people, if I stop you from talking about stuff I already know, you'll never get a word out.
Woo.
You'll never get to talk, because I very rarely run into people that's telling me something brand new. What people are giving me, though, is a brand new perspective on information that I already know.
Yeah.
See, I have not lived your life.
Yeah.
I haven't been through what you've been through. You're going to see this thing in a different way than I see it. And based on that, I can get a deeper understanding of that very thing. So I'm always willing to listen for edification, not unless you're on some bullshit. If you just on the bullshit, I'm going to cut that off, and I ain't trying to hear it.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to hear it. There's a few things I'm just not trying to hear. You come to me with something too spooky, you on some bullshit, excuses, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not trying to hear it. You go to telling me that a ghost came and picked you up and took you to the moon, and y'all met with aliens and they taught you the knowledge of when the Anunnaki is coming back and you came back to Earth. You tell me that, I'm cutting you off. I don't want to hear it. You're wasting my time. You wasting my time. You know what I'm saying?
But I like that. Another thing that it offers that just popped up in my head, the more you interact with people, the more your people skills get sharpened.
True indeed.
If we was to isolate it from people, that to me that's a form of resting on your own understanding. You see what I'm saying? When people are the ultimate test, people are how we test ourselves. I think that's why God is against us isolating. Yeah, isolation, for a time, yes, isolation, that's what a sanctuary offers, you know what I'm saying? But it's also a balance to that. You know what I'm saying? Because we live in the world, and we encounter people every day. When we walk out our door, we don't know what we're going to encounter. We can't control the world. So our reaction, you know what I'm saying, is going to be big, and depending on how we react, we get to know ourselves a bit better and where we are and the things we might need to work on. You know what I'm saying? In order to be better people, better with others.
One thing that I think also we have to understand to add to that is another one of my favorite books, the Autobiography of Assata Shakur. The Autobiography of Assata by Assata Shakur. Yeah, I love that book. And one of the things she said, I hate arrogance in anybody. I don't care who they are. And one of the ways that a person can get stuck making the same mistakes is not being able to be criticized. You know, you have to be able to accept constructive criticism. Huey P. Newton called it reactionary criticism versus revolutionary criticism. Reactionary criticism is when a person is trying to put you down just so they can feel bigger. Revolutionary criticism is when a person is pointing out your flaws and things that you may not see so that you can fix those flaws and become better. And there's a difference. Sometimes our ego get in the way where we cannot hear revolutionary criticism. And that will guarantee you to be stuck making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And this is how you know, because I know a lot of y'all are probably thinking, well, how you know when a person is criticizing you for your betterment and not trying to put you down? Well, look at them and ask yourself, what are they getting out of it? That's what you ask yourself. What are they getting out of this criticism? You can always tell when you got a hater around you. You know, just like I was talking about that family member. It was times when I made mistakes, when I made simple mistakes, and this man started laughing. And, you know, my brain instantly, but I wouldn't accept what my mind knew. You know, if it would have been anybody else, I would have accepted it. But because it was him, when he laughed, you know, I know that when a person laughs at an error or a mistake, it's because that they've been waiting on it. They want to see you fall. It gives them joy to finally realize that he's not perfect. There is a chink in the armor.
That was his way of exploiting. However small the failure was, that was his way of exploiting that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Putting the failure on the stage, you know.
So that's how you know when you got a hater. But when a person genuinely loves you, real love, they cannot sit back and watch you consistently make the same mistakes. Nobody that loves you could do that. But just one thing that we have to understand, we have to be open. We have to be open and receptive. It's an example I use all the time. You know, a lot of times you'll see dudes that have a booger in his nose. You'll walk up, or dude breath stinking. You'll walk up and his breath is stinking, and you're like, damn, ain't nobody told dude his breath stink? But the reason they don't tell them, because a lot of time when you tell people something like that, they get mad instead of going to fix the issue. Instead of saying, thank you, brother, for letting me know, and going to fix the issue, they get mad because they don't want their issue to be pointed out. They want to believe nobody else knows their breath stink. And I can tell you, everybody knows your breath stink. Everybody sees that booger. Everybody sees that booger hanging out of your nose. They all see it. But nobody is telling you. Would you rather a person tell you about the booger so you can clean it up and not walk through life with it? Or would you rather them worry about your feelings, not say anything, and people be laughing behind your back because you got this big gigantic booger hanging out of your nose? So that's one of the things that we have to understand. All right, I got another question. That I think is beneficial for us. What? Cause bro, we still got brothers. We got brothers sitting in prison right now with burner phones that's gonna be watching this. You know what I'm saying? And they want to know these answers. You know what I'm saying? Peace to the brothers. Peace to the gods. So, what was? And I understand if you don't want to go too deep. But what was the biggest mistake? Cause we all made mistakes once upon coming home. Me, I only been to prison once. That one time I did 17 years. So I had no experience on coming out of prison. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what I was going to see. I had my own personal expectations, and most of them was wrong. And I made mistakes when I got home. What do you think is the biggest mistakes that you made when you got home that set you back? Not other people's mistakes. Because we talked about other people, because other people have done stuff to us. What are the biggest mistakes that we made upon coming home? And that might help some of the brothers like Pluck and Killer Cam and some of the other brothers that might check this out later, knowing how to step out and come home themselves. Peace to the brothers.
That's a good one.
Oh, that making them think. I'm gonna ask it first while you doing the thinking.
I'm thinking on this.
I'm gonna say two things that I think that I did wrong. I'm gonna say two things that I think I did, the mistakes that I made. One, I pretty much had a decent and healthy diet when I was down there. A lot of times they feed you a lot of boiled and baked stuff because they think that fried stuff is too good for you. They don't want to give you fried chicken, so they give you boiled chicken.
It's a holiday whenever something
Yeah,
fried.
it's a holiday. But here's the thing. Actually, they're doing you a favor. They're actually doing you a favor. And I didn't realize that until I got home and I done picked up more weight than I like.
Oh, they took
you know
the
what I'm saying?
bread out too, I told you.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Complaining, obesity.
And so,
took the bread out.
One of the mistakes I made is I messed around and I got back on this SAD, this SAD, this standard American diet. You know, it's certain things I still never mess with, but coming home and going to the fried chicken place and the hamburger place and the taco place, and those things had their effects. You know, and I wish I never would have touched it and stayed on what I was on when I came home. When I first got home and used to go to work, I would go to work. My lunch was raw tuna. When I say raw tuna, what I mean is I'd open a can of tuna, put it in a meal prep container, nothing else in it. No salad dressing, no sandwich bread, no cut up pickle, nothing. 2 boiled eggs, some kind of fruit like a banana or an apple, and some crackers. And that would be the lunch I'd take to work. And I had a dude I was working with, he thought he was doing me a favor. He said, "Man, this what you eating?" Hell no. So he hit the store and he bought the big double meat cheeseburger with the fries. And I sat down to this and was like, oh my God, I've been denying myself this. Yeah. So that was one mistake. Another one was I shouldn't have never drank again. See, I went years without drinking. My body was clean and clear. So I never should have ever started back drinking or took a drink of anything. And it's not that I'm an alcoholic or any of that, but when your body has been pure for over a decade, I think you should keep it that way. That was another mistake. Because we get home and we think, celebrate. And one of the things that culture teaches us to celebrate, or things to do, it's crazy when you think about it. To celebrate, we murder ourselves. To celebrate, we like to take poison, which is insane. What kind of people thinks like this? And one more thing I'm gonna say. I'm giving 3. I add one of the bigger mistakes. But one more thing that I'm gonna give. We don't celebrate the occasion. We look for the occasion to celebrate. Yeah. Oh man, the sun came up today. Pop the bottle, baby. You know, it makes no sense. But the third mistake, and I would tell all brothers this. Unless you married, unless you got a die hard day one female just rolled their time out with you or something like that, come home and leave women alone. I ain't saying be, but you need to go to monk. You need to go on monk mode. If I'd have knew what I knew now, cause you gotta understand, I'm not taking the blame off me. You know, I'm not taking it off me. You know, but think about if you've been gone 2 decades, you know, it's like. You've been gone too. When I first got home, I was nervous about getting on the freeway. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't even really prepared to deal with a vehicle just yet. But one of the things that I learned, especially at my age, you've been gone a long time, and you come home, a lot of these women have been married already, they done had their kids already, they done been in a long-term relationship. So basically, and if they not in those relationships now, it's a great chance that these women have been damaged. They done been chewed up and spit out. And you're dealing with women who have such a negative view of men that when you fresh out of prison and you trying to build your life and you dealing with somebody who's damaged, who shouldn't even be trying to be in a relationship. A lot of these women should go get some counseling.
So you taking on and the thing back, this is why I ever went to prison. I had
hold on, let me say that for you, cause I don't want to make it sound like that I want to be 100 with this. Also, I don't think I was ready to deal with these women. I don't think I was ready. Because, you know, you come out, you've been working out, your body look halfway nice. You know what I'm saying? And they coming. And it's like somebody offering you all the candy that you want and you refusing to say no to any of it. Pretty soon, your teeth going to be rotten. And you can do that when it comes to women. Brothers, y'all can do that when it comes to women. It's a mistake. It's a big mistake. And that mistake can set you up for a fall later. A mistake, you know my personal situation. I'm not going to get into that on this conversation, but if I would not have been dealing with women, I wouldn't have had to deal with that. You understand what I'm saying?
But go ahead. And I think God knows that for me. Because even though I knew I wasn't ready and it wasn't time, no matter how hard I done tried, I still been single since I've been out. You know what I'm saying? I'm going on 3 years. I've never been in the free world and experienced that. I always had a chick, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of times, and a lot of those times, I wasn't ready for it then. But a lot of us, sometimes we be in a relationship just for the hell of it. It's the thing to do, right? You know what I'm saying? Or we don't want to be lonely, or we want this, the assets that come along with this relationship. So, a lot of times we wasn't ready. I don't remember a time I was ready. You know what I'm saying? I could say that, I've lost great chicks like that. At the same time, I've had some chicks that wasn't ready either. You know what I'm saying? And we was both just in some type of windstorm. But coming home, definitely no. I had a counselor. That's why I even went to prison and I was in a program. She was crying when she told me this. We got pretty close during the time I was there, and she was like, she went this far to say, I know you're not ready for a relationship. At least give it 9 months to a year before you even start dating. That was her advice that I never took, right? Until I was forced to take it. See, God has to force some things on me that no matter how hard I tried, even though I was a ladies' man, it's not happening for me. Not in this world, not today. You know what I'm saying? It's not happening for me. That's played out for me. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't get a sense of that or don't see that, I'll be hard-headed and go into it anyway. Now, I know I can be that sometimes. So, so I'm happy with the way things played out, because that's like a disaster waiting to happen, right? I'm not ready for a relationship, but I jump into one anyway. You know what I'm saying? All I can look forward to is sheer embarrassment, because in the woman's eyes, I can't fit the role of a man. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get my shit together. We're not living in the world. And I know it's some, but nowadays with all the influences abroad, chicks are less likely to be down with you from the ground up.
Another thing that when I first started hustling, I think I told you this story before. I was basically failing in the hustle. I was hustling. I started hustling at 14. So from 14 to 16, I was stuck flipping the same 50. That's what I call it. Anybody that know. I was stuck flipping the same 50. Finally, a dude, a hustler from my neighborhood, came home, and I simply asked him, told him my problem. I'm stuck. I'm not growing. Nothing is happening. He told me a few things that I needed to modify, and all of them worked. But one of the things he told me was, and cut off the women. And I'm like, what? Cut off the women? You 16 years old. You girl crazy at the time. So the last thing in the world that you thinking about is cut off the women.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
50+% of the reason why you do this shit anyway.
You know what I'm saying? So he say, one thing about it, he say, women take time. He said, a woman is gonna want to kick it. She gonna want to go out. She gonna want to go out to eat. She gonna want to do this. She gonna do. You need to cut everything off that can cost you any money, any time, anything. You need to go with the MOB mentality. That's essentially what he told me. Money over women. You know what I'm saying? Money over females. You need to put everything aside and be one-track minded on getting your finances together. He's saying another thing about it. One thing about it is it's gonna motivate you because you want to deal with women. And so you give yourself a timeline. You say, I'm not going to be dealing with women until I get at this point. Mm-hmm. And I think that for a lot of brothers that's coming home from prison, the time to start dealing with to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to start dating is once you working, got a ride, got your own place, got your basics in order. Food in the refrigerator, clothes in the closet, and your stuff is pretty much tight to where you can start dealing with women. You can invite women to your house, cook dinner and things like that. I think that would truly help a brother stay focused and be on point. You know what I'm saying?
What? Once you accomplish that, you got a sanctuary.
You got a sanctuary. You ain't never asked the question about your biggest mistakes. I told you, I take 3 of my biggest mistakes.
Oh, that's, I just want, I did get excited because you helped to spark the brain.
Yeah.
But one more thing I want to say that's important, because the counselor told me, I understand that, as a man, we crave to be with the opposite sex. You've been locked up, you might be. She said, I would rather you go find a prostitute and do your thing, get your rocks out, put the money on the table, and walk away without her issues that also comes along with her, than to go in a relationship. She said, because you have enough issues to deal with of your own. You're not in a position to take on somebody else's shit too. I said, God damn, it's that deep that shit. That was, and you know what? I still went home and did the opposite. You know what I'm saying? Hard-headed. And even though I heard that reoccurring over the years, I never practiced that because of my habit, because of what I was used to. You know what I'm saying? This time around, I had that in mind. But out of loneliness, sometimes we make poor decisions or feeling like we deserve this because we haven't been able to have access to this in so long. I deserve it, you know, and that can be wrapped up in part of the celebration too. You know what I'm saying? When necessarily there's nothing to celebrate. This is ground zero. It's time to come up. This ain't time for the party. My mistake. When I came home, I had some unfortunate things happen, you know, but it's not on other people, right? It's how I react. I think my mistake is embracing this scares me, and being stagnant, being allowing myself to be overwhelmed with just things that happen in life. You know what I'm saying? But you can't afford to stay stuck there, coming out. You know what I'm saying? And then there's the old me, which is always there, laying dormant. You know what I'm saying? I gotta do the work to keep my foot on top of that person, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm a medicator. Once I get down, once I get in those type of moods, you know what I'm saying? I could be stuck in that medicating mode, just trying to get through the day. You know what I'm saying? And I've allowed depression to step in and do its song and dance. I've allowed anxiety to step in and do its song and dance. The poor me shit. You know what I'm saying? That keeps you exactly where you are. You know what I'm saying? So I made those mistakes in the past. I've made those mistakes this time I came home. But what I didn't do is go back to the things that led me to prison. You know what I'm saying? So if anything, I applaud that. You know,
I'm gonna give you your cards, because the reason I'm gonna do this, you know, I don't like doing this. I don't like giving nobody no kind of praise, because usually when you do it, that's when they start slip. They rest on their laurels, as you like to say.
Yeah.
But I think it's maturity to be able to admit those things like that, because that means that you're ready to move away from them. You know, I think that's maturity. You know, just like me admitting my mistakes. You know, it's easy for a dude to say, I'm a player, I'm a ladies' man, I get the women. And it's easy for a dude to take it that way, instead of admitting that thinking it's cool to deal with so many women can really trip you up and set you back.
Yeah. It
can set you backwards. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Now, here's the one most people gonna jump on, boy. What are the best moves that you made? We talked about the mistake. What are the best moves that you made since you've been home from prison?
The best move I made, I would have to say it's the even though my actions could be considered as giving up to a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't see the progress. And as my man like to say, I go on actions. I go on what I can see. The mouth can say, you know what I'm saying? So the best thing I did is never give up. You know what I'm saying? The best thing I'm doing is being in the presence of good company when I can be somewhere else. You know, where I can be still stuck in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So that's the best thing I could do, is make that decision for myself, and be right about the company that I choose to, you know, to be around, and to be open. Those are the best decisions. and that I didn't give up. That means it's still opportunity. I still, you know. So yeah, that's the best, because I could have just threw in the towel. And what throwing in the towel looked like is just going back to, like he said before he got out, going back was no option. You know what I'm saying? And even though he was challenged, what he accomplished could have happened quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because you got the hustle to do that, right? You know what I'm saying? But you took another route.
One thing about me, and I told you this before, because I said I had people, one particular person in particular, tripping me up, constantly trying to trip me up. The problem with that is like the hug, and I'm supposed to brag a little bit. It's like the hug, and according to, and I'm a big comic guy, I like Marvel, you know, and according to the, according to the Marvel, they say that Incredible Hulk is theoretically the strongest character in the Marvel universe.
They say
even though we saw him, even though they let him get beat up by Thanos on the Avengers.
You got me want to see that.
You ain't seen that?
I don't know if I missed it.
Yeah, we're gonna check that out.
I remember the Hulk getting smashed.
Yeah, he got beat up. We got to check that out. But basically, theoretically, the Hulk gets bigger and stronger the more you hurt him. You shoot him with a gun, shoot him with a tank, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it doesn't work. And I kind of work like that. When somebody's trying to trip me up, it just motivates me to just go harder, because I know that they want to see me lose. If a person is trying to trip me up, they want to see me lose so they can laugh at me. I told y'all he wasn't everything y'all thought he was. I told y'all, and because I know that that's the purpose.
Wow.
Because I know that, I refuse to lose. I refuse it. I cannot lose.
The same thing to Jesus.
Yeah. And I compare myself to no Jesus.
I ain't saying, but while you saying that, I'm thinking it was people that was out to prove he wasn't who he was, who he presented himself to be. Yeah. Although he never bragged or boasted.
Yeah.
But he can't. He was performing, miracles. People was looking to, bring him down. This dude that, you walked out of prison another man. That wasn't just for you. And I want to say that for myself too. Everything I've done, that's not all for me. You know what I'm saying? It was for the people I love too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That was suffering because I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? From kids on down. So it's the most unselfish decision that I made to change. To say, hey, the streets, you know what I'm saying? And it took me a while to do that. And maybe some people don't understand that, but when you was really out there, you know what I'm saying, so that mentality stays with you, you know what I'm saying? And whenever the chips are down, you resort back to that, because you know how to survive, right, in that habitat. And that was my weakness. That was a big weakness for me. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's like the drink, like, kill the king, you know what I'm saying? It's the same concept, when it comes to people that will really try to tear you down, man, to prove, and to me, that's a defocusing type of thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because as long as I'm pointing the finger at you, and you know what I'm saying, it's defocusing off me and the problems that I need to deal with. People do that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Pointing fingers.
Remember speaking to that mic so they can hear you.
People point fingers, you know what I'm saying? And what you really doing is wasting valuable time that you could be, looking at self.
Since you love rap so much, I'm gonna quote Nipsey Hussle say, "Hey niggas, get some bread, you'll feel different." Instead of worrying about pointing fingers at me and trying to trip me, get your bread together. I guarantee you wouldn't worry about me so much. You know what I'm saying? But
and Wayne said, all these bitches and niggas still hate.
Now I got a question.
Gotta be ashamed.
Now I'm gonna respond to the question. I think the biggest, the greatest move that I've made since I've been home, I'm gonna say a few of them. I'm gonna say about 3 of them maybe. One, building my credit is one of them. Before I went to prison, I didn't even value credit. I didn't even understand the importance of it or why it could be utilized. So one of the things I did is I started studying credit and started understanding how to use it and how to build it. I'm not saying get a credit card and max yourself. I don't do nothing stupid like that. I use my credit cards for every single purchase I make, even paying rent. But I never use my credit card unless I have the money to turn around and pay the credit card. So I never pay interest. I never pay any of that. I'm not the bank's dream when they came up with credit cards. I'm not the person they were thinking about. Because if everybody did what I do, the banks would probably cancel credit cards because they wouldn't make no money off of them.
You wouldn't be eligible.
You would, you know what I'm saying? So I'm building my credit.
Shit.
My credit is at a point now where they sending me offers for black cards and Chase Sapphire cards and things of this nature, which is a good thing. And I deny them all because I'm not willing to over leverage my credit to walk around with luxuries and look like I'm rich when I'm really broke.
That's how people get off track.
That's how you get off track. I'm going to utilize my credit to build wealth. That's what I want to do. My goal was to build the credit so that I can utilize that to build wealth. That's the goal. So that's one good move I made. Another one, and it's simple, but I was willing to go to work, and I was willing to work anywhere. I didn't care where I worked at. I didn't care. I got a partner. My partner, he did 24 years, grown man, 40-some years old. He went to car spa, a damn detail shop, and worked with 19 and 20-year-olds washing cars. But that's because he had no work history. He had been locked up since he was 17, so he started somewhere. Now he owns his own business, so you have to be willing to start somewhere. So I was willing to go to work, and I was working within 30 days of touching ground and coming home. So those are two major things that I think I did that made good moves that I made once coming home from prison. Another thing, and I ain't gonna say it's a good move that I made, I guess you could say that it's a blessing, because while I had haters, the closest people to me, around me, there are all good, loving, kind-hearted people around me that, even though I'm very suspicious of people because of what I went through with my own family, that these people, I've still allowed them to be around me, and their energy is different than mine because they came up in a different environment than I came up in. But their energy is a positive energy. It's good for me, and I'm still adapting to that energy. But it's a good thing because these people, again, like I said, these people, they have a lot of love in their heart, and I think that the love that these people carry can overcome a lot of the negative poison that I got from my own family. You know what I'm saying? So those are just a few, maybe a couple might come to mind in a minute, but those are a few things that I think I did that was good moves upon coming home from prison. You got any to add on your best moves that you already gave your answer to that?
I gave my answer to that.
Yeah, you gave your answer to that.
Just, looking to keep adding.
No. Well, with that, we finna get ready to bring this to a close, and y'all know what I always do.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
I would like to suggest that you come up with a podcast on building credit, because a lot of our people, like other races, that as soon as their kids came to a point of understanding, they start ingraining how to build credit and things like that into them. So it's more of a natural thing to do, and for us, a lot of us didn't have that. A lot of us to this day don't know how to build credit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think they can be a very educational show for our people. Just a suggestion.
Well, if y'all agree with the brother and y'all want that, put it in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with as many people as you want to. I think it's a good one for because a lot of our people in prison. And we live in a country that is the biggest incarcerator on the planet.
Texas.
Not just Texas, America. America incarcerates more people than Saudi Arabia. America, because they talk bad about America, incarcerates more people than Russia. But like we always do whenever I have Sammy on the show, I'm going to give y'all a jam. I'm going to give y'all a little old cut. And since we talking about life, I think that the cut that we can give y'all for this show is Sammy's Cut My Life. And there we go.
Yeah, Sammy, Ace, Future, This is my life. Know that. This is my life. Yeah, I like that. Same man shaking in. Gotta pour a drink to this one. This is my life, but an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life, but an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. Yeah. Come on. I remember golden Decembers, playing the game of beginner. Street life had me enticed. My advice was only for winners. We would rap over dinner so often. I'm such a sinner so often. Begin to break my mind on that money I lent you. You know it, yeah, you know it, though you try your best not to show it. I started off a rapper and turned into some kind of poet. Maybe it was all the time I spent in the cave or on the corner where we stayed that made me bring the corner to the stage. Hey, now it says to stay like every day. No more a game of the lame and straight just to get paid on a daily basis. It was a ball and it was survival. Don't call me a pimp, it wasn't my calling to a few scrolls for the Bible. But I did, I was fascinated with watching Mac manipulate him, and my mama sure hated it. Me out of my own, making my own decisions. Shit, coming up fast, clocking gas, straight cash my life. But an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. But an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life, but an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. But an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. Like if there's 13 bricks in the bag, that's all you had to get your son back. You'll never get your son back. And this wasn't a movie, dog. I only saw the sun fade to black. My son being born when I wasn't ready for that. I was helpless, I was selfish. I still needed to be dealt with and I felt it. Just couldn't help it. Help what? The adrenaline rush. Like when a motherfucker gotta go pick up the bump and leave somebody snuffing dump. Just to make a point, like which hand you rolled up with. I make sure they roll the blunt after I make sure they catch the gun. Pray that I'm forgiven for those stunts, but I leave it right there. I can't get worried about everything I did wrong in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. With an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. What's the art of storytelling without a story to tell? I give you my heaven if you could just sit through my hell. What's acceptance if you can't accept my shortcomings? And my cool runners like I'm brushing shoulders with the drummers. Now I won't hold your disbelief in me against you. When I told you what I was finna do, you acting like I offended you. And this is my life, this is what so-called friends do. And ex-girlfriends do, your family will do it too. Like what's a 2-year blueprint to a nuisance? He'll persuade and change his ways overnight, frontin' like who's skin. Waiting to see if my next move gon' be my best. It wasn't your best move, so you're no different from the rest. And to the view of you, and never left my side when I was at my low, planning my comeback. You never rode and lied, you're part of my comeback. Part of the reason the old me has died and the new me is alive and all the way live in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. With an album that's never been dropped. I can't cheat you, I gotta give it to you how I lived in my life. With an album that's never been dropped. At a time like this, with the world, gotta live with it now. This is my life. Yeah. Real niggas and bitches out there, hold on, stay strong. Don't let the world look down on you for all you going through. We all going through something. Your yesterdays and yesterdays now. And today you, whoever you choose to be. I forget. Sammy.